I want to talk to you guys about some news that I have regarding the show as we're approaching the holidays here. And I want to talk about three areas. I've got some news for you on the artist series of videos. I want to talk about this new studio space that I'm in. And I also want to give you an update on Contra.st, which is the online photography magazine that I'm working on. So let's talk about the artist series. Most of you know this is the crowdfunding project that we wrapped up a few weeks ago. And what I've been working on to start out with this is simply contacting photographers that I could potentially feature as part of the show. And so far I have 8 people who have verbally agreed that they will do this, and I'm working on firming up the dates and locations and all that good stuff. I am going to wait and let this be a little bit of a surprise, so I'm not going to tell you who they are just yet. I will give you a little bit of a hint. Most of them have been covered on this show before. They're people that I've talked about in Photo Lit series work and other things. And so I'm pretty excited about how this is working out so far. I have tentatively scheduled to go through 2016. The first filming dates that I have set up right now would probably be the end of January. It looks like middle of February is definitely a go. There's possibly a filming date in March and then another one in June. And so as those firm up and as we get closer, I will tell you who we're going to be featuring and what that's starting to look like. But I am really excited about this. I'm pretty amazed because not only, I thought this would be a lot more difficult in convincing photographers to be a part of this. It really hasn't. Most people have been very excited about it, and most of them check out the show and they're even more excited about it, and I'm really happy about that. The other thing that's really interesting is there are 2 individuals. So let me back up just a little bit. So we did a crowdfunding thing for this, and what's really special to me is how the artist series has been really a community effort in a lot of ways, not only in funding. I had 2 people reach out to me during the series on the show. In fact, there's a third that I need to follow up with that have contacts with artists. And so that's been a tremendous help. And the other thing that's really cool about that with me, there's one individual in particular, we're working on 3 different artists in a specific city that I will tell you about later. And it's just amazing to have people come forward because we all want to make this amazing and to help out and do that. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I just wanted to make a mention of that. I will give you guys more information as we get down the road with this, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's happening. The second thing I want to talk about today is Contra.st, which is the online photography magazine that I am working on in collaboration with Squarespace. I've had a couple people ask me about this lately, so I thought I would give you guys some updates on where we are with this. So this is a project that I started a few months ago, and the idea is that it will be a website to start with, but it will be content that is harder to do in video format, like portfolios or sometimes written interviews or things like that. And so where we are on that over the last couple months is I've done the first set of interviews for this, and I'm putting those together right now, and then there's a couple articles that I'm going to run. There are 2 more interviews I want to get for the first issue, so we are still working on this. It's just taking a little longer than I originally anticipated. If you go there right now, there is a placeholder page set up, and you can get on the mailing list, and I will do an email send out when the first issue is ready, so you guys will be notified. And I'm building the whole thing on Squarespace, which they have been absolutely awesome in this whole process. They've been very excited about the idea, and Squarespace, to me, are very special. I've used them on a number of projects, and they have been a longtime supporter of this show. And so I do want to urge you guys to help support them because, quite frankly, they make it possible for me to do this show for you week after week. And anyway, they are absolutely wonderful. If you're not familiar with Squarespace, they are an all-in-one solution for building websites. Their slogan is "Build It Beautiful," and it really is that. You go in there, you start with a template, and you can start to modify it and customize that to get it to look like exactly how you want with fonts and colors, backgrounds and images. And what it does for me is it allows me to, when I'm building this magazine, is just concentrate on doing really good interviews, doing really good articles, and making my stuff awesome. I don't have to worry about coding. I don't have to worry about server-side maintenance or anything like that. They have all of that covered. And so literally it's a drag and drop interface. Everything is fast and easy to build. They have a system called Blocks, which basically you put an image or a gallery or something like that, or even a block of text in, and then you can just drag and drop to move it around and get it visually looking exactly how you want it. And Squarespace really are amazing. And so I recommend that you guys support them. They've been awesome to the show over the years. If you have a web project in mind, go over there and sign up for the free account. They don't require a credit card or anything. You just sign up and you can just play with it and see if it's going to work for you. And they offer, it's a trial period that you actually get to check it out. And if you do decide to subscribe, you can use an offer code, which is offer code AOP, stands for the Art of Photography, AOP. That'll save you 10% off your first order. And so I want to want to thank Squarespace for helping us out on this. And so that's kind of where we are. I am working behind the scenes on it. I don't want to divulge what the content will be exactly yet. I want it to be a surprise when it comes out, but I want to let you guys know that it's just running a little bit late right now. But we're targeting the end of January 2016, and we should have that up and ready. And so just a special thanks to Squarespace once again for working with me on this. Several of you have asked me about the new studio space, and I want to talk a little bit about that today as well. Many of you know that I recently moved from Dallas to Fort Worth, which is about 40 minutes down the road. And so far, I want to say that I have been really impressed with this city. It is a smaller city than Dallas, so you don't have the traffic problems. Everything's a little bit closer. But the most impressive thing to me has been culturally what Fort Worth has to offer. It really is an amazing city. It has some really nice art museums here. One of them has a very serious commitment to photography. So for somebody like me, this is a really cool place to be and have access to. Last week, for instance, I got to go see Sally Mann. And Sally Mann is one of my favorite photographers, and she did a talk about her new book that just came out at the Modern. And just the fact that this city offers things like that, it's really impressive, and I've really enjoyed it here. The challenge of the move has literally been the studio space, and I'll talk about that a little bit. Most of you who have watched the show for a while know that I lived in this loft building, and so I had these huge 20-foot ceilings and these massive windows, and we were in the corner loft in that space, and so I had light coming in from the south and from the west, and the windows were massive, and even on like a cloudy day, you still had enough light to do videos with. Well, I've moved into a house now, which was built in the 50s, and it is a lot different, and I just don't know the space as well. And so I ended up, unintentionally, but I ended up having to take about 2 weeks off just to get this video ready. My studio in here, the first thing I needed to deal with was the lighting. I don't have the windows I used to, and it's just a lot different. So I got the lighting sorted out. The color on the wall was, let's just say, less than attractive, so I did some painting. I built the camera shelf back here that you see, and I've had a couple people ask me, because we've done a couple shows in here now, about a few things in here, one of which is the synthesizer that you see behind me. I have a lot of people ask, is that a Moog? And it is not. It is a Korg MS-20, but it's very similar. It is a modular synth, and it has this patch bay on the top, and it comes with all these cables which allow you to hook up different sections of the synthesizer to get the sounds that you're looking for. I have a background in music, and I do a lot of my own film scoring, and I do a lot of it for these videos. I don't put music in every video, but when I do, it's usually something that I've written. And so that's one of the tools that I use to do that, and so that's why it's out. The second thing that people have asked about are the images on the walls behind me, of the hand and this other guy over here. And those are two images that I did a couple years ago. I took those photos when I was working at the Dallas Museum of Art. They are both of Liu Fan, who is a Korean-born Japanese artist, but he was one of the key figures in Japanese minimalism, really had its height in the 1960s, 1970s. He is one of my favorite artists. I know minimalism isn't everyone's bag, but I absolutely love Liu Fan, and I had the opportunity to work with him 2 different times during my tenure at the Dallas Museum of Art, and he was really amazing. And it's interesting, he does speak English, but he's not as confident with that as he is with Japanese, so he tends to be a very quiet guy. And what we were doing that particular day was in one of the galleries, one of his pieces was set up as part of an exhibition, and he was in town. And we had an interpreter in the room that spoke Japanese, and the curator as well. And I was down there doing video and still photos. And I was a little bit nervous because I'd always liked Yufan's work. And so all of a sudden when the interpreter came in and we started asking him about the piece that he was in front of, he just lit up and became extremely animated and was pointing and talking. It was like this different person jumped out. Of course, it was all in Japanese, and I had to check out the translation later. And then we did a longer interview later that day. And then a couple months later, he came back in for another exhibition, and I got to work with him again. He's one of the sweetest people ever. He's an amazing artist. And the piece that he's in front of, and it's actually not easy to photograph artists when they're in front of their work, because usually you're getting the back of their head and it's really tough to get in there. But he was doing a lot of pointing, and he talks with his hands a lot, and so that's what I ended up photographing. The painting that he's in front of was actually done in the 1960s, and it was part of a series of infinity works, is what he was calling them. And they're done by dipping a brush in paint, and he paints a square and then moves over, paints another square and another square and another square, as the paint tends to be used up off the brush, so that you see the square fading out, then it comes back in, and it's part of this whole notion of infinity that he was expressing in his works at that time. And so that's what actually his hand is pointing at. And I've always been happy with that photo, and it was in my office at the DMA for a long time, and then after I left the DMA, it came home, and I've finally gotten around to putting them up. So that's what those are, and I'm probably going to change works out in here from time to time. It's really fun because I've never actually put any effort into my studio space, and so I'm really happy with how this is coming out. The only thing left to do is get rid of the echo that you're hearing in here, and it's just because the way the walls face each other, and I need to put some acoustic material up. But once this is all done, I will do a full tour of the space. The next project is going to be my dark room, and then I'm going to work on the living room in the house, so I have another location to film in as well. But the light is just so bad in there, it's really hard to deal with right now, unless you just happen to be on a sunny day and it's the right time. And anyway, there's a lot of variables involved. So I'll do a full tour when that's all ready and put together. But I just want to give you guys some updates on some things today, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If so, please remember to like it and share it with your friends, and as always, subscribe to The Art of Photography so you'll always be up to date on all the latest and greatest videos that I do here. I got a lot coming up next week as the holidays are approaching, so I will see you guys in the next video. Later.